Ready? Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to a regular meeting of the Madera County Board of Supervisors. Today is Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024. First of all, do we have any additions to the agenda?
Chair, there are no additions. However, when consent calendar is called, I would like to request that 5N as in Nancy get pulled.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And with that, Council, can you read in our closed session items?
Yes, Chair and members of the board, there are two items for your closed session. The first is Government Code Section 54956.9, no, 56.8, conference with your real property negotiators. The agency negotiators are Jay Varney, your CAO, and Joel Begay, your assistant CAO. The assessor's parcel number is 066022013. And under negotiations are price and terms of payment for purchase, exchange, or lease of that property. There's also a conference with your labor negotiators under 54957.6 of the Government Code. Your agency designated representatives are Assistant CAO Joel Begay, Susan Carter, your Human Resources Manager, Sabrina Mendez, your Human Resources Manager, and Michelle May, your Interim Director of HR. The employee organizations are all units, and the unrepresented employees are all classifications, but not elected officials. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Are there any questions regarding the closed session items? Seeing and hearing none, we will move into closed session. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to a regular meeting of the Madera County Board of Supervisors. Today is Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024. Council, are there any actions that are reportable out of closed session?
Chairman, there are no reportable actions from your closed session.
All right, very good. Thank you. And at this time, are there any individuals that we would like to open and close the meeting in memory of?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I would like to open and close this meeting to Madera Rancho's resident Brittany Robbins, who tragically lost her life in a car accident on Friday. She was 31 years old. So this is extremely tragic, and all of our hearts go out to her family as they're grieving during this time. For those that are interested, on my Facebook page, Supervisor Jordan Wamhoff Facebook page, there are links for a GoFundMe and for a meal train. So if you feel so inclined to donate or contribute, please go on there and click those links to support their family during this time. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Are there any other individuals? Yes, Supervisor.
Wanted to add Jack Fry from Chowchilla to that. If you're familiar with Jack, he's on the Conservation District for years and years, and always serving in some form. Lived a good long life up into his 90s, and our prayers go out to his family.
Very good. Thank you for remembering him. Any other individuals? If not, we will move into our invocation and pledge of allegiance. And we're honored today to have Pastor Roger Leach of Valley West Christian Center to lead us in the invocation. Will everybody stand?
Reading out of Proverbs chapter 3. Today is the third day. It says, "Do not forget my teachings, but keep my commands in your heart, for they will prolong your life many years and bring you peace and prosperity. Let love and faithfulness never leave you. Bind them around your neck, write them on the table of your heart. Then you will win favor and a good name in the sight of God and man. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart, and lean not into your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight." Lord, I pray that over this meeting today, over our county of Madera. And Lord, I pray that you will continue to lead us in your paths and in your righteousness, and keep us safe and keep us blessed. And we pray that in your name, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Everybody join.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 4. This is public comment. And the first 15 minutes of each regular session are set aside for members of the public to address the board on any matter under the jurisdiction of the board, but not appearing on the agenda. The board will not take action on any items presented under public comment. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Anyone addressing the board is asked to print their name clearly on the speaker sheet at the podium and state their name and county of residence for the record. Are there any members of the public who wish to make a comment at this time?
Good morning. That would be me, Rhonda Push, CEO of Visit Yosemite Madera County, your Visitors Bureau. And we are really excited. We've been working on a project for about a year, and it's destination video, which we will push out to the world, showcasing our Fossils to Falls journey or Fossils to Falls road trip in Madera County. So we wanted to present that. It's hot off the press. We just got it finished last week. So we are getting ready to go here. Karen's got it up.
Very good. Exciting.
It is exciting. We're very excited. There's so much to showcase for tourism. We're really lucky to live here.
plan a trip, they look for the when some people plan a trip, they look for the fastest path to the biggest attractions. No detours, no exploration. Me, I prefer to take the long way because adventure happens when you lean into the unknown and get a glimpse of the bigger picture. That's why we go off the beaten path and say yes to curiosity. It's the thrill of an instant and the realization that we were right to dream big. Because you never know what will inspire you or how today's stories might turn into your legacy. Create stories that last a lifetime, from fossils to falls. Visit Yosemite, Madera County.
Hey. There it is. That is 1 year and 3 full days of filming and a whole bunch of edits, all broken down to that 1 minute. We also have 50-second or 30 seconds and 15-second teasers, and we'll go everywhere, and you're welcome to use it. Also, real quick, hot off the press, yesterday, MSN Travel came out with a story that we helped pitch with 67 million viewers on the Madera Wine Trail for September is California Wine Month. So thank you for your support and enjoy.
Very good.
Enjoy. Play
Thank
in
you
your
very
backyard.
much. Beautiful.
Awesome.
Good morning. I'm Cheryl Berry with Madera County Historical Society, and we'd like to thank you for having us here today. The anniversary of the museum opening, their 50th anniversary, will be actually on September 28th, the actual day of Old Timers Day. The museum opened on that day 50 years ago. The Historical Society that supports the museum had a 20-year prior history to that, getting ready to be in the museum. And I'd like to introduce Dennis Hart, who's been here before many times. He helped us organize a history of the first beginnings of the interest in the Historical Society in a museum for Madera. And he's written a book along with a couple others to present.
My name's Dennis Hart. It's a privilege standing beside this woman because, as you know, for about 60 years, she's been a giant in this community. I'm a newcomer relatively, only a few years, but it's such a pleasure to be here. The book you have in front of you, we are very proud of this book. This one didn't take 1 year and 3 days, took 9 months. And I think this is a tribute. When you read this, we're very proud of this, just as hot off the press, came off last Wednesday. When you read this, you're going to see a whole lot about the history of Madera County, about the building of the courthouse, the burning of the courthouse, the rebuilding of the courthouse, and how it almost got torn down in the 1950s after it was abandoned, how Courthouse Park almost became City Hall, a new City Hall, about the founding of the Historical Society in 55, about the vision one woman had about using that abandoned courthouse for the museum. She had it before anybody else, Marcia Putney, the judge up in North Fork. And then the founding of the museum on September 28th, 1974. This is really a tribute to you. And I say this because it was the Board of Supervisors who had the faith in this thing called the Historical Society back in 1972, 17 years after it was founded, and said, it's yours if you can do it. If you can use this courthouse for a museum, try, go ahead. And it was Bill Welton who pushed this for 2 years until September 28th, 1974, when we opened up. As Cheryl just said, 50 years to the day this year that we're going to celebrate it on Old Timers Day. And at that point, we had 6,000 items curated by Maud Lindemann. In the last 50 years, we have added a few items. We now have 21,000 items in that museum curated. It's a remarkable story from some great people who have been a part of this thing all along. So again, this is really a present to you in the county. We thank you so very much for giving us the opportunity to create this thing called the Madera County Museum. We hope you enjoy it. We hope you can come out on September 28th or anytime. But without you, without the Board of Supervisors, we wouldn't be here and this museum would not be here. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoy this.
I just have one, in researching and reading my portion of this book, the one thing that kept coming out continuously in the 20 prior years and the 50 years after is the clock. The clock. About every 5 years, the clock's not working. The next meeting, the clock's got a new part ordered. The next meeting, the part's not the right part. The next meeting, well, we got the clock running. Next meeting, the clock's not running. 5 years later, another time, the clock's not working. I mean, this has been perpetual. I mean, and even in the 30 plus years that I've been on the board, it's been perpetual. So finally, after long research, Steve Gardini found a guy that was able to move that clock up in today's date in 2022, and it's operated perfectly ever since. And it's all mechanical gears and all that stuff. But that one thing has kept the Historical Society busy over 50 years. So thank you.
Very good.
Thank you so much for, again, allowing us to be part of the museum and to preserve some history here. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much for your hard work. And we're looking forward to celebrating the 50th anniversary.
Hi, my name is Christina McWethy, and in light of recent tragedies or accidents, I share my story. Okay? I'm a wife and mother of 5. We made the Ranchos our home 3 years ago. In July of 22, I was on my way to take my kids to the movies. It was a clear, dry morning about 10 a.m. Right by Road 40, Riverstone. Another driver crossed the double solid line, coming into my lane, hitting us head on. Our SUV was destroyed. My kids were terrified, and I was trapped inside. My oldest son, 15 at the time, broke his foot, his collarbone, and he had such a bad panic attack that he briefly lost his vision. My daughters, ages 14 and 6 at the time, suffered deep bruising and traumatic nightmares. By the time I was cut out of the vehicle, I had suffered major damages, including compound leg fracture. Both ankles were shattered. My pelvis was broken in multiple places. 12 shattered bones in total, as well as major blood loss. I spent a month in the hospital. I was bedridden for 4 more months. I went 10 days without seeing my kids. They had to wonder if their mom was going to make it home alive. For the last 2 years, I've been fighting to get my life back, fighting to get out of this wheelchair. I haven't been able to work, which has caused financial strain. My 16-year-old son has his learner's permit, and I'm terrified for him to drive on Avenue 12 one day. Terrified he won't come home. I believe that this terrible accident was 100% preventable. If the county had done something as little as adding delineators, he wouldn't have swerved into my lane. There were trees on the other side, some dead space. Maybe he would have went that way. My life would have been normal. I would have been able to walk and participate in family activities. I'd be able to work. I also believe that the lives lost between my accident and now would have been prevented. Please make this a top priority. Please fix Avenue 12 and keep our people safe. Whoever is in charge of it, push them to do it. I also believe that when these terrible accidents happen, that somebody from the county should be checking on people. We didn't know anybody. We were only here for a year. It was like it never happened. Not one person checked on us. Nobody said, hey, are you guys okay? Do you need anything? We're praying for you. Nothing except for I reached out to a church, and a few people at that church at the flip side brought my family some meals, which I do very much appreciate. But I believe that this is something that as a community, we have to come together and figure out how to keep people safe and how to take care of each other. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any members of the public who have a comment? Anybody online?
No comments online.
Okay. Thank you. We'll now move on to, excuse me, the consent calendar. And we will be pulling 5N for further consideration. at another meeting, but we'll be removing it from today's agenda. Are there any other items that a colleague would like to have pulled for further discussion? Are there any members of the public that have a comment on one of our consent calendar items? Seeing and hearing none, I'll accept the motion for action.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve the agenda excluding item N.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Supervisor McCauley,
Yes.
Supervisor Wamhaugh,
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers.
Yes.
Chairman Poitras.
Yes,
Vote passes 5-0.
thank you. We'll move on to discussion items. Item 6A.
Behavioral Health Services Department, presentation of a proclamation naming September 2024 as National Suicide Prevention Month and the day of September 10th, 2024 to be declared as World Suicide Prevention Day.
Good morning, Connie Moreno Peraza, your Director of Behavioral Health Services. Thank you so much for making time for these two important proclamations. September has become a very popular month. So now it's both for declaring National Suicide Prevention Month and then National Recovery Month. I'm very honored to have one of our great partners, Rosalba Serrano, who will speak on the proclamation. She's the Director of Behavioral Health.
Good morning. My name is Rosalba Serrano Rivera, Director of Behavioral Health at Camarillo, and this year's chairs for Madera Together for Suicide Prevention for Madera County. This proclamation demonstrates Madera County's support of September 2024 as Suicide Prevention Month and encourages all citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools in Madera County to recommit to our communities to increase awareness and understanding of mental illness and suicide prevention. Your approval of this proclamation will recommit Madera County's increasing awareness and understanding of mental illness, suicide prevention, and the importance of appropriate and accessible behavioral health services for all Madera County. This proclamation reaffirms Madera County is united in raising awareness that prevention is possible, treatment is effective, and people do recover. Whereas September is recognized as National Suicide Prevention Month, a month to remember the lives lost to suicide, the millions of people who have struggled with suicide ideation, and acknowledge the individuals, families, and communities that have been impacted. It is also a time to raise awareness about suicide prevention and share messages of hope. And whereas the month of September, National Suicide Prevention Month, a time in which individuals, organizations, and communities around the country join their voices and amplify the message that suicide can be prevented. And whereas it is recognized that people of all ages benefit from common tenets of wellness, such as access to effective health and behavioral health care, social support, and a sense of meaning and purpose. And whereas attitudes and perceptions about aging, behavioral health challenges, and suicide have a significant impact on individuals' wellness and the willingness to reach out for support and services that can alleviate distress. And whereas cultivating and maintaining wellness is a lifelong pursuit, and individuals of all ages can benefit from integrating wellness into their daily routine to prevent or reduce the severity of a broad range of health and behavioral health problems. Whereas knowing the signs of suicide, finding the words to talk with someone that may be thinking of suicide, and reaching out to local resources are actions everyone can take care for themselves and others. And whereas knowing the signs of suicide, finding the words to talk with someone that may be thinking of suicide, and reaching out to local resources and other actions everyone can take care of themselves and others. And whereas September 10th is recognized across the United States as World Suicide Prevention Day, providing the opportunity to educate and engage everyone in our community to find the role in suicide prevention. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Board of Supervisors of the County of Madera, State of California, do hereby proclaim September 2024 as Suicide Prevention Month.
Good morning, Maribel Gonzalez, Co-Education Coordinator for Behavioral Health Services. And it's an honor just to highlight some of the efforts Madera County Behavioral Health Services is taking on to prevent and to highlight suicide prevention and mental health awareness. Madera County Behavioral Health Services will be conducting several suicide prevention and mental health awareness English and Spanish workshops in partnership with Madera County, Madera Together for Suicide Prevention throughout Madera County during the month of September to educate community and to the educate community on mental health and suicide prevention as well as resources. Also, in collaboration with Madera Unified School District, we will be conducting suicide prevention awareness to target middle schools and high school students throughout Madera Unified School District. As long as we also will be doing some at the behavioral health services will promote this through social media posts in relation to mental health awareness and services throughout the month of September. Thank you.
So we want to encourage everybody who's here or on the through the virtual to call 988. If no one remembers anything, please remember 988. That is the national number that was established last year and is getting a lot of calls from different places from the state. So we encourage people to get help. We are here. We have our crisis lines. We have folks in different clinics throughout the three regions in the county. So we ask folks to please call us for help. There is help and treatment. The next one is our
What's
recovery.
that number again?
988.
988.
988. But
If
we also have a local number.
But I was just gonna say, if you don't remember anything from the day, 988.
Yes.
Okay. But we have a local number.
988. 988. Remember those three at least, but we are here also locally. The next one I have Ileana Contreras. She's our substance abuse coordinator. She'll speak on Recovery Month. So a lot of our lives that are lost are related to either mental health and or addiction, substance abuse addiction issues. So I'm glad that they recognize both in the same month because they're very highly correlated. So I'm gonna have Ileana speak to that.
And Chair, just to note, the speaker may be speaking on 6B, which is your second agenda item on the regular session, potentially.
That's correct.
All
Not
right.
potentially, she is.
Okay.
It sounds like she is gonna be. So we're combined. So Connie has taken she's taken the bull by the horns and said, we're gonna plow two into one. And so what we'll do is we will take your presentation and then we'll take public comment and comments from my colleagues on 6A. Then we'll also do it on 6B. Then we'll have a joint presentation for the proclamations. I know, it's just, man, I can feel it. There you go.
Right. Hello, thank you, board, for having me here. Ileana Contreras, Health Education Coordinator for Madera County Behavioral Health. Each September, Recovery Month is honored across the United States and the world to celebrate those that are in recovery from substance use and mental health challenges. Through this proclamation, we honor our Madera County residents that have made great strides in their journey to recovery. And now I will read the proclamation. Whereas mental health and substance use disorders affect all communities nationwide, with commitment and support, those impacted can embark on a journey of improved health and wellness. And whereas the focus of Recovery Month each September is to celebrate all people who make the journey of recovery possible by embracing the belief that recovery is for everyone, every person, every family, every community, and by spreading the message that people can and do recover every day. And whereas the impact of mental health and substance use disorders is apparent in our local community, and an estimated 3,000 people in Madera County are affected by these conditions. And whereas in 2023, there was an estimated 350 suspected overdose cases, and so far in 2024, there are an estimated 221 suspected overdose cases. And whereas overdose is a devastating effect that can result from substance use disorders, but recovery can be a remarkable outcome. And whereas Madera County continues to work on overdose prevention efforts, by bringing awareness and distributing about 1,281 naloxone kits since July 2023. And whereas through Recovery Month, people become more aware and are able to recognize the signs of mental health and substance use disorders and encourage people in need of recovery to seek help. And whereas managing the effects of these conditions help individuals achieve healthy lifestyles, both physically and emotionally. And whereas the Recovery Month observance continues to work to improve the lives of those affected by mental health and substance use disorders by raising awareness and educating communities about the effective services that are available and to help achieve this goal, Madera County Behavioral Health invites all residents of Madera County to celebrate this September as Recovery Month. Now therefore let it be resolved, the Madera County Board of Supervisors do hereby proclaim September 2024 as National Recovery Month and call upon community to observe this month with compelling programs and events that support this year's observance, the 33rd anniversary of Recovery Month and Madera County's second annual rally for recovery and first annual walk for recovery.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So what we'll do now is we'll revert back to 6A. Are there any comments from my colleagues regarding the National Suicide Prevention Month proclamation and presentation?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Mhm.
Connie and staff, thank you for the information. I really appreciate you spelling out everything that's happening during the month for both of these proclamations. I'm just curious, do we have numbers on how many suicides occurred here within Madera County?
I think the,
last year?
excuse me, the last data that we reviewed, Madera had 11. So normally the data is in arrears, but we do, compared to other counties, we do have lower numbers. But we are trying to collaborate with the 988 call centers to ensure that we are receiving more accurate and timely information. But we do have comparative data from the previous years as well that we can definitely share with you.
And are those numbers lower from years past?
It's around the same, but
Started around the same, and we just got collected the data on the 2023, and the numbers are pretty much around the same. The only difference is like we expected those numbers to be high during the December or holiday season, which it was a surprise. It was more high between the trimester April, May, and June. And also the numbers are higher on the rural areas as Ockers and Chowchilla than Acho Madera.
yeah, I don't know if you guys know, but some of the data that we had seen in a few years back was that tax day is when we were here most folks expressing suicide or completed suicides. So we haven't seen the Madera data yet, but that was an interesting. We thought it was during Christmas or New Year's, and it was April 15th, tax day. I want to recognize our substance abuse champions, our counselors. Look at there. You may think we had 100, but there's the little engine that could. What? We only have a small team that do amazing work. You guys want to stand? You guys do amazing work helping our people in throughout the county. Our substance abuse counselors are, and John, thank you, John. You're doing an amazing job. And I also want to recognize our clinicians. You can have a seat. Our mental health clinicians daily, our crisis team daily. They're trying to help out there, folks who are suffering from these conditions.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. We're still on 6A. And any other comments from my colleagues? Are there any members of the public that have a comment? And I believe there is. Online, 6A, what is this? Oh. Looks like Connie was presenting. Okay. Okay, thank you. All right. If there's no other comments from members of the public, I'll accept a motion for action.
I'll move to approve the proclamation.
Second.
A vote's not required.
Okay, presentation. Okay, so we'll move on to 6B. Are
Six-
there,
You want me to read it?
Yeah, go ahead. Thank you. That's right. It's kind of out of order, so, yeah.
Behavioral Health Services Department, presentation of a proclamation naming September 2024 as National Recovery Month.
Okay, is there anything further you'd like to mention, Connie? You've already introduced the team over
No,
there.
I just think that our young kids, I'm very concerned about our young kids who are getting addicted to opiates, they're vaping. We're hearing from our mountain areas, from our Okers, our superintendents of schools. We had a convening with them last August, and they're very, very concerned. So we're trying to partner, we're increasing our counseling services for the Oakhurst area, and also joining public health, their mobile van, so we can be out there along with our CARES team. But we're working a lot with our schools. Our parents are struggling with some of the youth. I know, Gilbert, you're very involved with our youth in the juvenile hall as well as in our Pine Recovery Center. So we need to put the word out to really help our kids. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Any other comments from the public? If not, we do have several proclamations. Connie, how would you like to do this? You want to separate the teams? It's up to
We can
you.
do one, and
You're
we
the
can have both.
boss.
I do have the team. I know they're eager to go back and do treatment. So we will, if it's okay with you, we can have the team, or combined team, and both proclamations if you like.
Okay, let's do
We're
it.
good.
Let's all
Thank you.
gather. Okay, we'll move on to 6C. This will be something that Connie's not presenting.
Sheriff and Coroner's Office, discussion and consideration of entering into an agreement with Mount Bullion Properties LLC in the amount of $680 per month for antenna and radio repeater site license through February 28, 2028, and authorize the chairman to sign.
Morning, Chairman and members of the board. Joseph Wilder from the Sheriff's Office. This is an agreement to kind of clean up. We currently have a repeater site at Mount Bullion in Mariposa County. This enhances the sheriff's radio communication down into the Bailey Flats, Raymond, and Eastman Lake area. This enables the deputies to be out of their car on their handheld and communicate back with dispatch about current activities and updates of what's happening at the scene. So this is just to clean up. The equipment is already installed at the site. This is just the cleanup language for the contract and the agreement.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions regarding this item? Are there any members of the public that have a comment? Seeing and hearing none, I'll bring the item back for action.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Wamhaugh?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor McCauley?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Very good. Thank you. Great job. 6D.
Treasurer Tax Collector Department, discussion and consideration to adopt a resolution ordering the discharge for accountability for delinquent taxes for unsecured properties for fiscal year 2019 through 2020.
Hello, good morning. Tracy Kennedy, your treasurer tax collector. And tax day for me is not April 15th, but it's April 10th. So I'm not involved with that previous deal. What we have here before you is unsecured discharge of accountability. We come every year. And what this amounts to are the business assessments, maybe boats, whatever else it might be that is billed on the unsecured roll hasn't been paid. So after 5 years, even though everything has been lean, we have reached out to them. We do all sorts of ways to try to collect. We do bank levies, we do till taps, we beg. And unfortunately, after 3 years, we have lost all of our abilities to collect. Our 3-year statute doesn't coincide with the revenue and taxation statute of 5 years. But anyway, so we come and we get some of these items taken off our roll. Essentially, they've all been leaned. So if they were to go through escrow, their name would still pop up through escrow. Then their escrow agent would call us and we could reinstate them. Jackie Torres, my assistant, she did a great job of making different categories and what they all are considering: inactive under 500, inactive, active, and over 500. This all, of course, starts in the assessor's office. And if they don't have the correct assessee or whatever it might have, then they don't pay. What they have been doing at the assessor's office, which is excellent, is we have increased the exemption level to $10,000 value. So anything that is under $10,000 in value, we do not send out an unsecured tax bill for anymore. It's just too labor intensive for what we get back out of it. And Brett has worked really well with us trying to clean that roll up. That's where it all starts, is what's billed out is what I'm charged to collect, whether right, wrong, or indifferent at the time. And also on January 1st is the lien date. So remember that date's coming up. January 1st is lien date. January 1st, 2025 will set the pace for your 25, 26 unsecured taxes. So anyway, I know I belabored the point, but I just wanted to let everybody know it's a deep deal, but I know there's some new people that may not understand.
Okay, very good. Thank you for the presentation. Are there any questions from my colleagues regarding this item? Are there
If I may, just real
Yes.
quick. So based on the assessor's action, we should over the coming years see fewer and fewer counts needing to be released,
Right,
Is that
right.
correct?
You know, our goal is to get with it right away. So the deadline is coming up September 30th, August 30th, it's already passed. Oh, because of the weekend. Okay, so their 30 days are up to pay. So now we will go into collection mode. They have 30 days, we'll file a lien, and then our plan is to hit it really hard so that we can collect in the first year, right? So that's our best bet.
Okay, very good. Any other questions, comments? Any members of the public have a comment? Seeing and hearing none, I'll accept the motion for action.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor McCauley,
Yes.
Supervisor Wamhoff,
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers,
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Chairman Poitras.
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. The next item, we were going to be moving into the sub-basin sustainability plan, but Stephanie mentioned that perhaps the people who are going to be presenting 6F would not want to listen to the plan, the sub-basin plan. And I said, well, maybe they'd like to, but I'm going to give them the gift of time. And if it's okay with everybody, we're going to move into 6F first of all.
Board of Directors, Groundwater Sustainability Agency, Water and Natural Resources Department, discussion and consideration for endorsement of the Madera Community College Agave Distillery Program.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Thank you for rearranging the agenda slightly. I appreciate it. So today's item is a letter endorsing what I think is a visionary idea to make Madera Community College a hub for agave, both in terms of education and in terms of processing. And Dr. Angel Reina is here and can add more to share his vision for the future with you.
Thank you, Stephanie, Chairman Poitras, members of the Board of Supervisors, County Administrator Varney. thank you all for the time to be here and the consideration of this item. I know I formally or informally just touched a little bit in terms of the vision and what we're trying to do. I think it's in alignment with the work you all are trying to do for drought tolerant plants, to look at different types of resources and processing that will still make Madera County vibrant. So about 2 years ago, I started to have a discussion and went down to Mexico for some potential international partnerships. And then this opportunity in terms of distilling agave and processing it in different ways, because it's not just distilling, but it will be one of the primary things we do, because you could do a lot of different things with the agave plant. And given that there's so much unknown on how, when you bring it to Madera County on the research side, I found it critically important that I engage with UC Merced because of their research capacity and ability that far exceeds what we can do. And this, summer, Chancellor Munoz from UC Merced joined me on a trip to Mexico, where for me, it was like the third or fourth that I had gone down there to meet with universities, to look at research institutes, and also some of the tequileros that make the tequila. And so we had very robust conversations, because for me, it was the third time that I was going down there and having a conversation with them. But prior to my most recent trip, Stephanie had reached out to me and said, "Hey, I heard you're working on something that could benefit the county." And I said, "Yes." And we're taking a very holistic approach to this. We're not just saying, "Hey, we're just going to distill nothing else." The research side is going to be very important, because we need to look at how we handle the water post distilling or post processing. And that's something that some of the folks in Mexico that have been researching the agave and distilling piece for years, if not decades, have been more than happy to work with us. And at Stephanie's request, and I think the county's request, to provide an Agave 101 education for local farmers and people that are interested in growing agave. We're planning sometime in mid-November to bring them over to our campus to help educate folks. So they're not planting agave with their eyes closed, but they're making an informed decision. And part of it too is we could see the international education piece open up, but more importantly, by supporting and endorsing this program and the vision that we have, I think economically it'll boost Madera County, and also culturally, if the vision is expanded upon in terms of what we're trying to do to inevitably have our own distillery, restaurant, bar that the college runs through its students because of our Oakhurst campus. The hospitality and tourism piece is critically important. You all saw Yosemite, that video that happened earlier. So we're very excited on the endless possibilities that this program can provide to be the hub, not only regionally, statewide, but ultimately in the nation. I'll take any questions if you have any, because I know what I know, and it's we've been working on it for 2 years and very excited about it.
Yes.
Yeah, I know when people think of agave, they think tequila immediately, but there are so many other products that can come from that. There's shampoo, there's syrup, there is just all kinds of things. There are non-alcoholic drinks, various other things. So expound on that a little bit.
Yeah, so you could definitely, you've already seen in Costco, there's the honey made from agave.
Right.
You can actually make clothes. When we visit a distillery down in Mexico, they were utilizing the agave for their label on their bottle. So you could use a lot of different things. They were composting it. So this is where the partnership with UC Merced is going to be critically important for us, and they're open to working with us on that piece because they're more interested on the research side. But ultimately, it will benefit us all as we continue to expand on the research side. But there's endless possibilities. I think ultimately what we want to do as a college is to educate, but also be responsible in the education process and the utilization of the water.
Right. Thank you.
And to be an economic boost. Let's not get that wrong. This could be a huge economic boost for the area.
It uses so much less water than else that we've
Yeah.
thing as far as a product, so it would be very viable transition crops. People are moving to much less water use.
Very good. Any other questions, comments? Yes,
Yeah,
Supervisor.
Chairman, I have a comment. Last week, Dr. Reyna and I met, and this was the topic for the majority of the time that we were there. I just think it's super exciting, the potential vision that you have. You know, this can be a, you know, if done correctly, this could be such a huge economic boost, not just monetarily, but culturally as well, to this area, as you already have described. It's really going to come down to the economics as well, right? As far as agave prices and things like that, as far as how quickly this could catch on. But I think you know, by capturing the coolness factor, I think is step one. And so I want to thank you for, you know, reaching out to me and sharing your vision with me, because I think if done correctly, this could be a total home run. And I just think it's super cool.
And with your support, it'll help even more to make sure it's done correctly and right. And so that's why we're here today. And just to give you an update, you know, we're in process to lease a winery so we could start distilling hopefully in January. So we've been developing curriculum for a while. We've hired some local experts and so also some folks that make tequila to be part of our team. We've hired a director from Texas that's been distilling from concentrate. So obviously we're not going to do concentrate. We're going to do the actual plant. Been looking at people that bring the plant from Mexico. So we're taking a holistic approach to make sure that this program is successful. Obviously, we'll probably hit some unanticipated bumps as we start off because we're doing something that has not been done.
Very good. Thank you. Any other comments from my colleagues? If not, are there any members of the public that have any comments? Nobody?
No
Move to
comments
approve.
on mine.
Okay, yeah, this is a action item to endorse the program, and we have a motion.
No, second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Wamhaugh?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor McCauley?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Very good. Thank you.
I brought you all something if you don't mind, if it's okay.
You know what? It's I'll have to ask council. Is it okay?
No, it's just
As long as it's not tequila during the meetings, huh?
That's what I was looking for. Thank you. I wasn't going to say yes, and then council goes, stop. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ah, it's a truck driving. Okay.
Soon we need one with the agave plant right on front. All right.
Very good. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
So we'll now move to six
Sure.
E.
Board of Directors, Groundwater Sustainability Agency, Water and Natural Resources Department, presentation and update of the 2024 Chowchilla Subbasin Revised Groundwater Sustainability Plan.
Good morning again, Stephanie and Agneson, Water and Natural Resources. I'm here with an educational presentation before your board takes action to adopt, hopefully in a few weeks, the revised 2024 Chowchilla Subbasin GSP. As you know, there are 4 water agencies that make up the Chowchilla Subbasin: Chowchilla Water District, Madera County, Merced, and Triangle T Water District. You know the timeline already. We're at the 10-year anniversary of SGMA. It passed in 2014. In 2017, GSAs were being formed, and Madera County became the exclusive GSA for those who did not have any other representation. We worked together then to work on one GSP in the Chowchilla Subbasin, and then that was submitted in January of 2020 to the Department of Water Resources. 2 years later, we received an incomplete determination, which listed 3 deficiencies. More information needed on all of these 3 topics: the lowering of groundwater levels, land subsidence, and then interconnected surface water and groundwater. So the water code gives you 6 months to revise after an incomplete determination. We revised and then received, unfortunately, an inadequate determination. It has the same sort of deficiencies listed, needing more information on lowering of groundwater levels and subsidence, although it did say that they thought we had sufficiently addressed the interconnected surface and groundwater. So once you are inadequate, you transfer jurisdiction to the state board. So we have now been working with the state board staff for several years at this point, including submitting a draft for them to review. Here is our current schedule. We have a completed first draft, or completed final draft in August. We had a public comment period that lasted a month. We got one comment that talked a little bit through jurisdiction and wanting the GSAs to clean up their boundaries. Some of the boundaries between GSAs go through parcels, which doesn't make the parcel owner particularly happy. So that is something that's certainly doable. We would like the GSAs to adopt a revised GSP this month in September and then submit it in October. We have, if we do not do this, a probationary hearing in the second quarter of 2025 with the state board. We have met a number of times with the state board. They have expanded DWR's list of concerns. They are concerned about 5 different things: domestic well mitigation, the monitoring well network, groundwater levels, the project's level of detail and funding, and land subsidence. I'll go through each of those briefly, mainly so that you see that we have done the thinking about what will get an acceptable plan here. In terms of domestic wells, they didn't like that we have a funding cap per domestic well. We've set up a process where people can actually exceed the funding cap of $30,000 with multiple quotes and review by a committee. They wanted clarification on how we were paying for domestic well mitigation. And we've added that. As you know, the county's share cannot be paid by the county GSA due to a protest of the Prop 218. A Chowchilla grower group has stepped in to pay part of that, and then other larger organizations are also paying a share voluntarily and with an MOU as well. The state board wanted water quality concerns addressed. So if someone had, for example, arsenic in their water, something that wouldn't normally be covered in the nitrate management program that already exists, the GSAs will provide a source of water. And then they wanted a temporary program created. So if someone has an issue and their well goes dry in the Chowchilla subbasin, they can immediately get bottles of water and a tank. So as you can see, this is over and above what DWR wanted, but this is what happens when you are addressing the concerns from the state board. Second issue was on the monitoring well network. They wanted additional well construction data. We're working with the owners of those wells. They also wanted those readings, obviously, to be taken on a timely schedule. We have had some issues because we took an idea from the public, which was to use private wells in our monitoring network, and we've now had some issues with access to those wells, meaning people do not want to let us on there to take groundwater level readings or water quality readings. In terms of groundwater levels, they wanted a change to how undesirable results are labeled from an exceedance of 30% to 25%. They also wanted us to adjust our interim milestones. And there was a concern expressed that I think is important for you to hear, that other GSAs did not have demand management in place. And so we're developing a demand management MOU with those other agencies so that they are able to start some version of demand management. Maybe it's everybody take a % of their farm out of production. Maybe it's an allocation approach. But this came from the state board, and so it's not a county GSA concern, it's for the other GSAs. They were also concerned about continued domestic well impacts, which are solved by the previous slide. They wanted more detail on our projects and management actions, and they also wanted specific triggers for those other GSAs for demand management. And lastly, the state board is extremely concerned about subsidence, as is DWR. And they were concerned about the effects that groundwater levels continuing to sink would have on subsidence. So we have a subsidence MOU as well as the demand management MOU with specific actions and triggers. We've included the Eastern Management Zone, which was not of primary concern, does not have as much subsidence. Subsidence is around Red Top and the western boundary to the county. We have adjusted our minimum thresholds. We have planned to adjust the interim milestones. And then we have reached out to all of the infrastructure in the Chowchilla subbasin. That includes the city of Chowchilla, our flood control agency, the Lower San Joaquin Levee District, and the county in terms of impacts that subsidence has on their facilities, whether it's roads or canals or bridges. So that is the work that's been going on over the past year. It's all gone through the GSP Advisory Committee, where Supervisor Rogers is a member. And so we're looking at having a complete plan ready for your adoption later this month. I would be happy to take any questions you have on the state board's process, the revisions, or anything like that.
Thank you for the great presentation. Are there any questions, comments?
Yeah, Chair, I had a quick question. I was hoping, Stephanie, you may be able to kind of expand upon, I guess, item 5, the mitigation for infrastructure impacted by the subsidence. It sounds like they're requesting we put together an MOU around that. So what does that entail? Like what would we be responsible for? I mean, you mentioned roads and canals, but essentially the GSA would be responsible for going in and repairing those, getting those back up to sufficient quality, or how?
No, I would say worst case scenario, the GSAs could be held responsible for costs, but that is not what this MOU does. What it does is it has stricter restrictions on groundwater levels to avoid subsidence so that it doesn't get to that point. I will say that all of the infrastructure managers are aware of subsidence and the damage that it does. It's one of those things where the costs are spread in ways where costs can't be collected.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Something to contribute on that. You pointed out the fact that we're the only agency that has demand management, and that's a fact. When you consider other institutions like MIT, CWD, Delta Mendota, et cetera, you have some of the participants in those organizations that are using groundwater, even though they they can avail themselves of CWD water or MID water, but because their system is on solar, and there's quite a few like that, they have the system on solar, it's cheaper for them to extract the water out of the ground and not have a bill. So that's a definite problem. And until they tackle that issue, there's really no parity. I don't care how much water they bring in at that point, they're part of the problem and not the, and I think that's something maybe that they're aiming at from, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's maybe something that they're aiming at, because there's literally no accountability there.
Yes, the state board is very familiar with agencies saying it's someone else's problem. And what this demand management MOU is doing is saying every agency in the subbasin needs a way to reduce demand. And to your point, sometimes the rate structure doesn't mean that it works out for the grower, but that's a rate structure problem. That doesn't mean they don't have to reduce demand.
Right, I think in terms of that demand management situation, eventually, as we recharge the upper aquifer, we have talked about the idea of shifting pumping in those areas to compensate for what's going on. This also stems the tide of subsidence, helps reduce that, or if not eliminate it altogether when you're pumping from the layer above the cork and clay. And so, I mean, that should eliminate subsidence. But
Certainly new subsidence. There's residual subsidence.
yeah, it won't eliminate it. It'll bring it down.
Yes.
Anyway, that's all only points I had.
All right, very good. Thank you. Any other comments? Any members of the public have any comments? Very good. Well, thank you for the great presentation. Moving on to 6G.
Board of Directors, Special Districts, County Service Area Number 22E, Tesoro Viejo, Public Works Department, Administrative Services Division. Discussion and consideration of approval of receipt of unanticipated revenue 24-006 in the amount of $2,580,000 derived from CSA 22 East Tesoro Viejo fund balance to other charges for fiscal year 2024-2025. 4 votes are required.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Andrea Saldati, Deputy Director with Public Works. Before you today is an RUR for CSA 22 Zone of Benefit E, Tesoro Viejo. What this item is doing, it is taking fund balance from a tax share fund. It is a fund set aside individually that dollars have been set into per the development agreement signed back in 2012. This tax share agreement essentially says that 50% of the tax increment is shared for funding mechanisms specifically for the Tesoro Viejo area. One of those approved expenses is the reimbursement to the developer for their expenses for public safety. They have made payments for fire and sheriff services. So specifically the sheriff patrolling and the FTEs for the fire department that are specific to Tesoro Viejo. They have paid back to the County of Madera, and they are asking for reimbursement out of this tax share fund. We have that request from them. The request right now is $1.9 million. The $2.5 million that we are asking to be freed up is all of the money available in the fund, because this is the first request for reimbursement, and we anticipate that they will request additional reimbursement as they make payments in fiscal year 24-25. After this initial move, we will budget for these types of expenses during the annual budget process. So with that, I'm here for any questions.
Very good. Thank you. Are there any questions regarding this item?
Chair, just one quick question. And so you mentioned the incremental taxes, and so that's all generated within the zone of benefit of the district. Is that correct? Or?
Yes, it is. It only looks at the properties within Zone of Benefit E within CSA 22. It does not look at anything else. It is specific to Tesoro Viejo only.
Okay. And does this cover 100% of the costs of the fire station, the full-time equivalents, the sheriff deputies, and all that kind of stuff? Or is this just a percentage of?
This is only the percent that the developer is paying for. And at this point in time, it is not the full expenditure that they have paid.
Perfect. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Are there any other questions, comments? Any members of the public? Seeing and hearing none, we'll bring the item back for action.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor McCauley?
Yes.
Supervisor Wamhaugh?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you. 6H.
6H, Board of Directors, Special Districts, County Service Area Number 22, Zone of Benefit C, Gunner Ranch Public Works Department, Administrative Services Division, discussion and consideration of entering into an agreement between Madera County Service Area Number 22, Zone of Benefit C, SCA 22C, Gunner Ranch, Inc., Richard V. Gunner, Margaret S. Gunner, Community Property Revocable Trust, and Valley Children's Hospital for Water Systems Transitions, and authorize chairman to sign.
Good morning again. Andrea Saldati, Deputy Director with Public Works. The item before you is what we are calling the Water Transition Agreement between all of the parties within the Gunner Ranch area. So it is Valley Children's, it is the Gunner Development, and it is the County of Madera. What this agreement is doing is it essentially is the guideline to transition Valley Children's non-transient, non-community water system into the community water system for the Gunner Ranch area. Currently, Valley Children's is the owner-operator of their water system. There are water improvements being put into the ground right now as we speak, hoping to come online in the spring of 2025. As those improvements are made and are ready to come online, we will be putting the two systems essentially together, and this transition agreement walks through the steps on how we will do this. This transition agreement also speaks to the potential of having a private utility come in and own and operate the system. It also leaves the door open for the county to be the owner operator of the system. All the parties are in agreement right now, and the MAC, which is the Municipal Advisory Committee for the Gunner area, has also read and reviewed the agreement and is in agreement. So I'm here for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions regarding this item? Any comments? Any members of the public have any comments? Seeing and hearing none, I'll bring the item back for action.
Move to approve?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Wamha?
Yes.
Supervisor McCauley?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Very good. Thank you. And we'll move to item 7A.
County Council Department consideration to adopt a resolution of the Board of Supervisors of Madera County in support of homelessness, drug addiction, and theft reduction act.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Chairman, members of the board, Regina Garza, County Council. I'm here to introduce the item procedurally, to make a comment, but I think substantively, we have CAO Jay Varney and District Attorney Sally Moreno that may want to speak to this item. I wanted to mention that this is submitted as a resolution in support of Proposition 36. It looks a little different than your letters of support for pending legislation. And the reason for that is because usually on pending legislation letters, the county logo is used. And that is sent off and used at however maybe those campaign committees may want to use it. When there's active legislation, the rules of law are different in terms of how the county can use its logo or county funds for campaign purposes. Now, it'd still be fine to do it on letterhead here because you're doing a legislative act, which would make it lawful, but in an abundance of caution, in talking with CAO Varney, we put it as a resolution just to avoid, as it floats out into away from your dais, any sort of misuse or misperception of the county's use of public funds. Very exciting, right? So to speak on the item, CAO Jay Varney.
Thank you, Regina. So this legislation, better known as Proposition 36 on your November 5th general election ballot, directs some new activities towards the worst parts of Proposition 47. Should allow the district attorney and law enforcement a number of tools to deal with repeat and high value offenders. And rather than go into that any farther, I'll let Sally, who's going to have to actually do the work, explain that to you. Thank you.
Good morning. This legislation was actually developed by the California District Attorneys Association, of which I'm a board member. And it is, we all remember Prop 47, and pardon the gross generalizations, but in this context, it basically decriminalized drugs and low-level theft, turning those into misdemeanors, which given the already full capacity of our jail, Since AB 109 pushed a bunch of low-level felons into our county jail, it meant that misdemeanants really are not incarcerated when they're cited. For the most part, so these things, when you make drugs and theft misdemeanors, becomes a citation. And that is what has contributed to the homelessness in our community. And so this legislation is designed to give us back some control over those things. And the thing to remember is that since Prop 47, generally what happens with drug addiction, and we saw Connie Moreno-Peraza up here earlier talking about how complex that problem is. People get addicted to drugs, and then the next thing they need to do, they lose their jobs, and the only way they have to support themselves is stealing. And so they start stealing things. And when neither drug use nor stealing at this low level brings about serious immediate consequences, that's what contributes to the rise in homelessness. And if you look at the statistics, and I'm happy to provide a resource, but while homelessness in the nation has dropped over the last 10 years, it's more than doubled in California as a direct response, we feel, the District Attorneys Association, to Prop 47. So what we're trying to do is get back some control, because we all know, everybody sees the homeless person at the intersection, and everybody's heart bleeds for that person. And you wonder, how did they get here? How can we help them? What can we do? The thing that works is consequences. And so what Prop 36 does is it makes your third drug conviction a treatment mandated felony. So we're going to require you to get into treatment. If you get through and complete treatment, it's dismissed. It's done, it's gone, congratulations, and you move on to Connie's roles of those who are recovering. Here we are in recovery month. And if not, then we have to add additional consequences. And it's the same with theft. It allows us to aggregate thefts so that in this community, I wish the sheriff was here. It's a small number of people who are repeatedly stealing from our commercial establishments that are causing the problem. So if we can put their cases together and apply, again, consequences, and those consequences always and everywhere with the work of probation and my office include the options for treatment, for drug treatment, we can try to get a handle on this problem. The governor really did not want this legislation to make it to the ballot. The legislature tried some dirty tricks to keep this legislation and to change the description of this legislation. This legislation polls at 70%, the least popular plank in this platform polls at 70%. And that's because this is not a partisan issue. This is not a Democrat or a Republican issue. This is not a geographic issue. This is not a coast versus the valley issue. This is the best thing for California residents. Nobody likes to see homeless people struggling, and not just because because it's not good for them. How do we help them? We created this place where people go on and abuse drugs with no consequences, and that's not helpful for anybody. So this solves that problem, or at least is a step in the right direction. If you need any additional information, or if you're interested in campaigning, or for those at home watching, if you're interested in donating funds, please reach out to me, and we can make that happen. Anybody have any questions that I can address?
Are there any questions?
No questions, but I do want to thank you for your work on this effort. Also want to thank you for your work on the Deadwood arsonist fire out there. Very happy that we were able to get that person into custody. And I know your office had a lot to do with that. So thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor McCauley.
And thank you very much for spearheading this on your end, and especially through the District Attorney Association platform as well. A lot of people just don't realize the impact that 47 had, and the introduction of the shoplifting, which is a 459.5, right? Which, regardless of your intent walking in there, you're going to be charged with shoplifting instead of burglary. And then when you meet those career thieves who, are typically homeless, addicted to drugs, they'll go steal $300-400 worth of stuff in a day, and they just rack up 100 misdemeanors, and it means absolutely nothing, right now, absolutely nothing. And so until we get a hold and get to dangle that felony in front of in front of them as a deterrent, nothing's going to change. So I strongly, you know, I strongly hope that everyone supports Prop 36, and this is the only hope we have right now to get this problem at least in the right direction, if not under control. But
Brett, I couldn't agree more. And the coalition in support includes a number of business owners, but it also includes those advocacy organizations that advocate on behalf of drug addicted persons. Because again, it's not a solution for people who are addicted to drugs to live in the Fresno River and steal to support their habits. So that's why there's such a broad base of coalition. We're very, very hopeful that we can start turning the tide in California and helping people get out of homelessness.
thank you.
I'd just like to mention, I think it was so sickening and disgusting with the action that the legislature took. You know, the Senate pro tem and the other leaders, the governor, and coming up with this other legislation that they suggested that we go with, and they even making proclamations like, well, we think that people, when they see what we're doing here, they won't support 36. I mean, is there any legislature that's more out of touch, that is more just living in their own world than what we have here in the state of California, to think that their little bills that are really nothing and that go against Prop 36 are going to work? I mean, it's just ludicrous, and it's just unbelievable.
It is infuriating, Chairman Poitras. And the thing that I'll try to explain it, because I work hard to explain complex things relatively simply, but they did what's called a poison pill. So they were going to pass some weaker theft legislation and put in it the fact that if this legislation, if Prop 36 passes, it will undo this anti-theft legislation. That would have made them had to rewrite the Prop 36 ballot pamphlet to say primarily this Prop 36 undoes anti-theft legislation and anti-drug addiction legislation that's already been passed by the legislature. Again, creating that circumstance, just like they did with Prop 47, they called it the Safer Schools and Neighborhoods Act. That would make them bill Prop 36 as reducing consequences instead of increasing consequences, because they know everyone in California now understands we need to increase consequences. The only good news is I think it kind of backfired on them when the light came to shine on that. And I was able to reach out to our legislatures who pulled out of supporting that legislation, particularly Esmeralda Soria. She was ready to support it and in fact had authored one. And when we had this conversation, she said, well, I can't back that. So once we shone a light on it, I think that's how we ended up. This is the only public safe legislation on the ballot. So it's super easy to tell your friends and neighbors. Prop 36, it's the only criminal public safety thing on the ballot. It's a yes, absolutely yes on 36.
Very good. Thank you. Any other comments? Are there any members of the public that have a comment? Seeing and hearing none, I'll bring the item back for action.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor McCauley?
Yes.
Supervisor Wamhaugh?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Very good. Thank you very much. All right. So let's move on to supervisor and staff reports, and I'll start to my right with Supervisor Wamhaugh.
Well, I'm going through my calendar here, but none of these are actually reportable items, so I have nothing to report, Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Gonzalez.
I just want to make a few announcements that the Madera District Fair opens on Thursday and admission is free on Thursday. So come out if you can. I'll also be attending the groundbreaking for the casino. And I wanted to remind folks that we'll have a September 11th memorial opening of the courthouse park.
Very good. Thank you. Supervisor McCauley.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I just want to give the board a quick update on the Yosemite National Park's Visitor Access Plan, which I brought up to you folks a couple of times. Had a good meeting with Congressman McClintock, as well as park staff and representatives from 3 out of the 4 gateway communities last Wednesday. The message was pretty clear to park staff, which is, we need to slow down. The impacts of what they're doing are drastically, affecting our gateway communities, and they need to take the time to get it right. So we had the support of our congressman there, which I'm very happy about. I think his words were, make this right or prepare for a congressional inquiry in January. So some pretty stern words from the congressman, but again, just want to express my appreciation for his support on this effort.
Very good. Thank you very much. Supervisor Rogers.
Yeah, I attended a forum on immigration in Herman with Congressman Duarte, and the also the ESA for the Chowchilla Advisory.
Okay, super. Mr. Barney.
It's not aliens. I'm thinking that's probably second floor construction in Tracy's office. As you know, and was mentioned earlier, the ever entertaining legislature has come to an end and forwarded any bills that made it out to the governor's office. So we'll be reviewing those that the board has previously taken positions on, either in support or opposition, and having the chairman sign off on the letters that we forward to the governor, and then we'll bring those to you at your September 17th meeting for ratification, as you do not have a September 10th meeting, and the governor only has till the end of September to sign legislation. So we'll need to start sending those out soon.
Very good. Council.
No report, Chairman. Thank you.
Clerk of the board.
Nothing to report. Thank you.
Very good. And just as a reminder, our next meeting will actually not be a regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors, but it'll be a special meeting, budget hearings on September 16th, a Monday at 9 a.m. And then we'll have a regular meeting the next day. So with that, thank you very much, everybody, and have a great rest of the day.